The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ARTOWAR5 to get a discount on your next order.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another super exciting Art of War tier list. Welcome to 2025, where we rank all the things in Warhammer.
That's right, tier list Tuesdays were gone, but they are back. We were in Grotmas, and, we had no time to tier. We had just detachments coming out left, right, and center.
But you know what? Now that all the detachments have been released, and we got a balanced data slate, and there's been some events unfolding, we actually have the capability, the means, the wherewithal to rank all of these detachments.
That's right. So today we will be ranking every single Grotmas detachment against each other, seeing who came out ahead in the month of December.
That's right. This is a highly requested tier list by all of our wonderful members in the Discord community. Thank you so much for your support. And as a token of your generosity, we're going to rank all these armies.
As a token of art? Yes,
Jack. You got it.
Got it.
And as a token of your generosity, you can like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue doing what we're doing. And we love talking about Warhammer to you. It's one of our favorite things.
Absolutely. So how about we talk about where you can find out more information about these armies if you like some of the factions in this tier list.
That's right. You see that link right there, the warm.vhx.tv. That's a wonderful link. It'll give you a 3-day free trial of our wonderful Warroom subscription. With that, you can get access to 3 coaching games per week where we break down all the ins and outs and how-tos of the top-level players. Also, we have detachment videos on every single Grotmas detachment, plus sample lists, plus coaching recaps, plus Jack theories. You got it all.
That's right. Jack theories are starting back up in the new year.
That's right. We got tons of content coming out all through 2025. It's going to be a bigger, better, more awesome year than ever. So you don't want to miss it. You can get your 3-day free trial in the warroom.vhx.tv. There's a link right above my head and in the description below, which you can even click on. So definitely do that.
Absolutely. Well, let's how about we dive right in?
Let's dive. Now, if you're new here, you can always remember that we're a competitively focused channel. So we're going to be ranking all these Grotmas detachments, not necessarily on their coolness factor, although they are very cool, but rather how viable their detachment makes the army competitively.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say anything that falls into top tier is a legitimate contender to win an event.
Yeah, like a big event.
Like a big event. If you have the right pilot and the right list. And then a lot of these are still being figured out, honestly.
For sure. We don't have all the answers. This is not first takes. We already did that. This is like, mid-bake takes. The oven is on.
The oven is on. It's at 350. It's been in for 15 minutes.
So we've got strong detachment. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's not like the cream of the crop best, but it is pretty strong. Mid AF, you know exactly what that means.
Just nothing too crazy in here.
Who doesn't like vanilla ice cream?
It's fine.
No sprinkles.
I guess.
Contextually not great is my favorite tier because I came up with the name. This is basically if you have a detachment, which might be a decent detachment in a vacuum, but then you compare it to your other options within the codex. So I don't want to spoil, but there's going to be some armies which have a decent detachment, but then if you look at the other options of the index or the codex that they're in, it's not great anymore.
Yeah, maybe they would be good with a different army, but for whatever reason, the army they've got, not cutting it.
Yeah, and then finally, what the and that's there's only a few armies that are going to end up there, but man, what is going on?
Yeah, when you open up that PDF on your day, right? And you're like,
is this it?
Where's the second detachment for my army? Yeah, it's going in there.
If there's a Reddit post that's 400 posts long ranting about your faction, you might find yourself here. That's all I'm saying. You might not, though, because Reddit believes everything.
There's not a ton that are going to go in there.
All right.
But there's some for sure.
So this is in alphabetical order, I think. And we're going to start it off with the Adeptus Custodes. Also, before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that Zinth has been a member for 18 months. And he's sending us some super chats. We love you. We love your support. But in an effort to keep the ball rolling, we are going to answer all super chats at the end of the video.
All right. Looking forward to it. So Custodes, pretty strong. Solar Spearhead is a vehicle-centric detachment. Now, it is unfortunately working with the premise that the Custodes vehicles, outside of the blessed Caladius, suck. They're terrible. Now, the issue here is that the detachment gives them so many rules, they're not the same data sheet anymore.
Yeah, +2 move, reroll ones to wound, reroll wounds, +2 OC. What are we doing here? Move through walls, advance and charge. They give the vehicles it all.
Yep, you can't have all those rules at the same time, but even the just +2 OC to make vehicles OC5 to contest objectives away is pretty huge. It gives them a massive mobility boost because you do get +2 move, +1 advance, +1 charge. I believe you get all of those, and then you can advance and charge. So these things zip crazily fast across the battlefield. Very stark contrast to when they just moved 6, which all of them did, except for the Telemon moved to 8.
They're faster, they fix their OC issues, they fix their wall issues, they fix the move block issues, and let me tell you, Custodes Dreadnoughts do not have a problem with damage.
They kind of do, which is a little weird. Like, you're not going to murder people in combat or shooting that effectively, but what you are going to do tremendously well with this army is control the board.
Yeah.
You have a lot of OC, you have a lot of bodies that all have the same durability profile. You're not going to table most people with this army because a lot of the combat is like 5 attacks at 12-2-3, right? It's like, all right, it's going to get the job done when you need it, but it's really a board control army that takes objectives, holds objectives, reanimates onto objectives, is durable on objectives. And then when you make them weaker, you get reroll 1 to hit and wound, which is super strong.
Right. And it's also a great attrition army. Most armies do not have the means to just like rip down 6 Dreadnoughts and 2 Caladius or something to that effect. It's just so much armor.
Oh, buddy, it is more than 6 Dreadnoughts and 2 Caladius.
It depends on how you build your list. I know Folger recently just won a big tournament, Glass City tournament with this detachment. I'm quoting his list with 6 Dreadnoughts, 2 Caladius.
That's right, because he is the unit of Wardens. Right, if you wanted, you could cut that and get 2 more Dreadnoughts, or you can just take Folger's list, which is tried and true.
Yeah, I mean, no matter which way you slice it, this is a super strong detachment. I will even say it's a top tier detachment.
I would say it's a top tier detachment for sure.
Yeah. Is it without weakness? No, but this is Warhammer.
Yeah, I would say it's like weirdly not as good in a direct fight as you would expect it to be for a vehicle rushdown army. But even so, it's really good at holding objectives and really tough to dislodge quickly.
Yeah. Talking about armies that are tough to dislodge quickly, we've got Admech next. Admech is the premier quintessential trash army in my mind, or at least one of them. And the new Halo's Creed detachment kind of lets you play it all. All of their units just get buffs and synergies within this detachment, so it really is a flexible army. Lets you design it kind of however you like.
Yeah, you can include basically any kind of unit and make it good. I know Richard has at times talked about how good you can make both kind of Cataphrons. You can do good things with Electro Priests. You can still take a lot of Rangers and Vanguard. Like, it buffs basically every type of unit. There's something in there for everyone. It's very well designed. The downside is that, at least in Richard's estimation, and who is he to know how good Admech is?
Who's Richard?
That's right. It is not as good as the Skitarii Hunter cohorts, just stealth across the board, and then lone ops shenanigans like that. On the other hand, if you have a wide-ranging, like if you have a Skitarii collection, play Skitarii Hunter cohort. If you have an Admech collection, play Halo's Creed.
Yeah, I think it's a good alternative, and it lets people do different things with their collections. I know things like Castle and Robots and the Breachers, they have all seen play in this detachment, which is something I don't really see at all in like a normal Skitarii Hunter cohort list.
No.
I don't think it's quite as strong as the Custodes or other armies that we're going to put into top tier, but I think this is a strong detachment, honestly.
Yeah, I think it is. I would put it in there. It's not going to see as much play, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
I think also Admech in general just won't see that much play, but that's more of an Admech thing.
That's would I rather have 2 kidneys or would I rather have an Admech army?
You only need one.
You only need the one. But what happens when they come out with whole new range for Admech? I need both. I need at least one of them.
Well, I'm saving all of my kidneys for the Emperor's Children army coming out.
That's fair. That's fair.
Both of my kidneys are going to that.
Just okay.
Next, we've got Aeldari. Now, talk about an army that is literally always broken no matter what they do.
Right? Yeah, no, this one is not.
Are you saying they didn't make Eldar broken?
Yeah, it's like Armored Warhost or something. It's not great. It's basically like, we'll get to Star Shatter when we get to Star Shatter, but it's like Star Shatter without all of the rules.
Yeah, so basically all of your vehicles get advance and shoot, which is like nice, but your vehicles are also already very fast, and it's like, you know, add D6 inches and shoot them. Doesn't really move the needle on what your army's doing. You're also giving up your index detachment, which contains beautiful things like fire and fade, and reroll a hit and wound.
And Phantasm.
And one of the things about these vehicles that you're going to advance and shoot with is that they love to take weapons like the prism shots or bright lances and those types of weapons love. And I do mean love a reroll hit and wound.
Yeah, like a Warwalker does not look nearly so good if it doesn't reroll a hit and a wound. In fact, it looks downright not great.
No, not to say there's nothing you can do in this detachment. We played one stream game with it where Quentin was like advancing out of his transport to contest my objectives, which like is something, but it's not that great.
No, it's a little telling that it is better to run an Armored Warhost list just in the normal detachment.
Yeah, I don't think this was the worst they could have done, but contextually, this is not good. You're just going to play your index detachment.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing for Eldar fans, but that's okay.
Yeah, they're going to get a new codex soonish, hopefully, and then we'll see if that realigns the data sheets, the army rules or something, as they've
Maybe it'll all make sense.
Maybe it'll be better. But one same thing that doesn't really need to get better is the Bridgehead Spearhead.
Bridgehead Strike
Force? The guard
Stab head,
detachment.
shoot better.
Deep Strike shoots you with Scion Detachment.
Well, that's good. That data sheet didn't already Deep Strike and shoot really hard.
Okay, so you know how one of the best things in Astra Militarum was like Scions and Aquilons? What if we made the Scions battle line? And what if we gave the entire army sustained hits on the drop and reroll wounds?
I've seen wildly, and I mean wildly, too many Scions in these lists.
It's I was thinking like, how could they make the index detachment for Astra Militarum better? Like what compares to that? Why would you mess with perfection? But they sure did, and it sure is ridiculous.
I mean, at least it's not a bunch of vehicles. I mean, it still can be.
I know John has been murdering people with this. I know Nassim is planning to take this to LVO. Ben just won a tournament, one of our new coaches, with the Bridgehead Strike Spear shoots.
Yeah, it's a bunch of cheap dudes with a bunch of weapons that deep strike on you and shoot ridiculously hard.
And 6-inch deep strike you. On all 5 turns, basically.
Yeah, no, it shoots really hard. It's guard, but the best parts of it, and then they buffed them.
Yeah, you have all of the scoring you could ever want because your Astra Militarum army is still made of OC 300 and infantry that go very fast and vehicles that let you advance and disembark and this and that and whatever, and you have no shortage of units to do actions. And then it kills you.
Yeah, I don't like any part of that. I'm going to be real with you, Nick.
Don't forget, while it's shooting you ridiculously and scoring 100 points regardless of what you're doing, it's also move blocking.
Hold on real fast. Let me just add a unit of infiltrators to my LVO list
yeah.
real quick.
Oh, yeah. You know.
Maybe 3.
This is, I don't know what they were thinking. There's also maybe a new Astra Militarum Codex coming out soon, so hopefully that makes better sense in context, but holy bojangles, this is so good right now.
It shoots really hard.
Do you think it's better than Custodes?
Yeah.
Do you think it's better?
I do. Okay.
I'm not going to argue with that one.
I mean, I don't know how much we want to rank in the tiers.
Not that much.
But like, that one feels pretty clear to me.
All right. Next up, we got a couple Jack factions. Jack and Black Templars.
That's right. And they are not created. The 2 of these armies, they're both Marines. They're not created equal. The Black Templar detachment relies pretty heavily on the fact that Space Marine data sheets are pretty all right. They're pretty good. They're pretty solid.
You could actually have, this is a hypothesis, but you could have a Space Marine detachment which doesn't have rules. Like, actually just have Oath of Moment as your only rule, and maybe Armor of Contempt, because you get that too in every detachment. And that plus data sheets is better than half of the game of Warhammer.
Well, I will tell you, that's what this detachment is.
You got +2 move across the board, +1 strength on this.
To infantry, and you can switch into +1 strength. That is basically it. You are right. You have identified the rules that you get.
It is 2 more rules than just Armor of Contempt and Oath.
Yeah, I think the same way as Eldar, it's better to run those lists just in the index detachment. It's better to run I forget even the name. But it's better to run the lists in this detachment in Gladius or in Righteous Crusaders.
Yeah. So for that reason, it's contextually not great. But that is not to say that this detachment doesn't do work just because it is based on Space Marine units.
Yeah, Space Marine units are pretty solid. They're pretty solid. They are good basically at every points cost across the board. If you want to get like 70, 80 cost units, you get good ones. If you want to take like 200 cost units, you get good ones.
If you buff the army 15 times across 2 years, look at that. It's just great.
Yeah. So Black Templar detachment, kind of a miss. Space Marine's pretty strong.
Yeah. And Red Run, thank you for your super chat. We're going to hit that at the end. Next up, we've got Blood Angels.
Okay, so Angelic Inheritors, I know the name for this one. I have played probably about 15 games with this since it released. I am planning to take it to LVO. I have been refining a list that has been doing very well in practice. I personally love this detachment, and I think it goes in top tier. All of your character units, which can be a lot of them, will get reroll 1s to hit, wound, fallback, shoot, and charge, as well as a good suite of stratagems, and that just helps a ton. Like Liberator Assault Group gets +2 strength, +1 attack, but a lot of the time, adding reroll 1s to hit and wound, and then Lance Lethal, which is a strat that they have, same as Liberators, oftentimes that's pretty comparable in terms of damage. And in exchange, you get a bunch of shooting buffs, so you can run a mixed combined arms army rather than being pure combat. And you are actually quite good at it. Lone Ops strats, you can go back into reserve. You make very good use of the Sanguinor and Sanguinary Guard, for example, which Liberators doesn't as much. Sanguinor is pretty disappointing in Liberators. I, quite frankly, think this is better than Liberators. I love this detachment. I have, as I said, I've played about 15 games with it, and I'm planning to take it to LVO.
Yeah.
I think it's got the sauce.
I mean, you're putting your money where your mouth is. I'll take that action. Let's go.
Let's go.
To the top tier. The next army, maybe not top tier though, Chaos Knights. Now, the new detachment, for those of you who have not been keeping up, basically allows you to ally in Chaos Space Marine damned units up to 500 points. And then all of its rules synergize with like you killing your own cultists to make your Chaos Knights mildly better. And in exchange for moving through walls, you now get advance and charge, which can be nice on like a Chaos Knight Lancer or something. But aside from that, you're just playing Chaos Knights with cultists. And like that is fine.
It's just fine.
That is some fine stuff.
I don't know. What part of the Stalker 6 Brigand 6 Carnivore list do you want to cut for cultists?
Like, I'm not gonna lie. I could definitely see adding in like a lot of cultists and like little 10-mans to like move, block, screen, contest objectives. Generally, just do an action where a Chaos Knight doesn't have to. I think Chaos Knights kind of hurt for like small bodies, and I can appreciate that. But like adding cultists does not get me that excited.
It sounded like you were pretty excited.
I'm more excited. I think this is mid. I think this is like a mid.
I think it's pretty mid.
Chaos Knights are already like a mid faction in my mind. They are like okay, and then we made them more okay.
Yeah, they're just fine.
Yeah,
I think they weirdly do well into like Marines, which helps them out right now. But yeah, no, they're just
yeah. There's nothing. I'm not taking this to LVO. Let me tell you that.
Really? That's crazy.
I know.
Have you ever played Chaos Knights?
I have played practice games with Chaos Knights.
That's
I have
sick.
put them on the board before. I almost took them to WCW last year.
For
like a day.
Okay.
For about one day.
I believe it lasted one practice game.
Quentin shot me with an avatar on Overwatch, and I turned around.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, jeez, and that meta?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Next up, we've got Chaos Space Marines, Fabius Bile. Now, this is one of my favorite detachments, just on like the raw coolness of it. Randomly buffing your entire army and running at your opponent with like 30 possessed is awesome.
Yeah, it's like World Eaters, but CSM flavored, which is pretty good, honestly.
Hey, look, possessed are one of those data sheets, and like Chaos Space Marines in general is one of those things where you just buffed it enough times, and like, you know, anything looks good with +2 move, +1 strength, +1 attack, whatever you're giving it.
Why are they 24 points a bottle, Nick?
Because they're awesome. Because they're awesome people, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, how much is an 8-pound? Like 50?
A lot. It's 52, 51.
Two.
It's 155 for 3.
Two possessed with Fabius buffs is just better than 1 8-pound. It's simple math, really. And then you get chosen.
Yeah, I mean,
even
you see 30 of these dudes running you down for 720 is an eye-watering number. Like,
it tells you how to build your list. And you're going to build it in that direction of just like Space Marine bodies that run at you, Chaos Space Marine bodies that run at you. But then you have like the limited play style that brings. So some armies might hard counter you a little bit because you're very linear in your approach to the game. But also, man, did you bring a big hammer?
Yeah, you got a big hammer. And also you have a lot of little trade pieces because like Legionaries are really good trade pieces. So you can still post up behind walls and just feed your army onto objectives to make sure your opponent doesn't score primary. Definitely. And then if they want to come forward, boom.
Yeah. You definitely could have like a rough game if you're going second versus guns on like layout 5, but you know, who doesn't? Yeah. I think this is like, to me, between strong detachment and top tier. It's like floating in that inner space.
Yeah, I would say I think it's top tier. I think you absolutely could win an event with this.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony has been absolutely smashing it with this detachment so far. I know Sacco has as well over in France. Like, there has been some good results coming out from Fabius Bile.
100%.
Next up, we've got the Dangles, the Dark Angels.
That's right.
This is another detachment which I think suffers from being Space Marines in that their data sheets are awesome and their Armor of Contempt and Oath get you very far. But beyond that, this doesn't do much.
No, there's a lot of I think it's Raven Wing can charge you to make Deathwing +2 to charge.
So I played against this detachment in this detachment's debut game. I was running Fabius Bile and John was running the Dark Angels. And around turn 4, we realized that John had not actually used a single rule from his detachment.
Yeah, and it was fine, wasn't it?
He still won this game. It's in the worm. But that's kind of my point where it's Space Marines are Space Marines. They don't need rules, but they got rules anyway. I think this is contextually just not that good.
I think it's not that great. Yeah.
Not to say it's a bad army. Space Marines are still Space Marines, but...
Just run the Gladius, just run the Iron Storm. There's a lot of different options here for Dark
You have the
Angels.
most options for detachments, and this ain't it.
No. Death Guard! We got the Flyblown Host.
So this is another one where they have a lot to compete with because that index attachment is also where you get all of your debuffs from the Contagion.
Yes, you do not... You get the -1 toughness for being Death Guard. You get the extra -1 weapon skill, -1 ballistic skill, -1 save, -1 OC thing. You get that from Plate Company. That being said, I think this detachment's all right.
So you get Scout. Scout is pretty good.
Scout across the board and Stealth across the board to all your infantry. I think this is a team's army. I don't think this detachment really wants to play singles, but you can absolutely make a team's list that is 48 Nurgle Terminators that all scout at you and all have stealth, and some of them are lone op.
I mean, you can defend with that pick table 7. I don't think anything is just slamming that out of the dirt. It's just it will run most people over, and even if someone can score points against it, it's gonna be like a draw.
Yeah.
It's got real value in teams for sure. I think it's got a linear, I am made of Terminators that scout and stealth, and hopefully that gets me across the board.
It is super obnoxious to deal with.
I'm sure. I'm not sold on the army that moves forward being that great. I'm just not.
Yeah, Scout 5 definitely helps quite a bit. I would probably just put it in mid.
I think it's a mid army. I think it's better than Chaos Knights.
I think it's better than Chaos Knights.
It's pretty mid.
In teams, I could see it making a pretty savage teams list.
Yeah. Teams really opens up a lot of diversity in terms of what's good, what's bad.
Yeah, in singles, I could even see this doing quite well. The problem is it's not really up to you.
Yes. Singles, you get a bad pairing, and that's the end of your weekend.
Oops,
yeah.
sorry.
Next up, we've got Drukhari, which through the acts of Archon Skari himself, they have been nerfed. I mean, again, I don't even know how.
Again.
I want to put them here just because how did that happen?
Objectively, Reaper's Wager is their best detachment that they have. I know that Quentin came around to that and explained it to me, and it made a lot of sense, which is that basically people were playing the index detachment already, and that doesn't have a detachment rule. And Reaper's Wager very much does. And the stratagems in Reaper's Wager are stronger than the ones in the index detachment.
You lose out on Fire and Fade.
You do lose out on Fire and Fade.
What do you gain?
Gosh, it's been 3 weeks since you explained
There's a lot
it
of
to
rules in
me.
40k. I do remember we tried this on the table. It was better than we thought. I will give it that. Harlequins and Drukhari playing around together. You get some interesting things like infiltrating a Harlequin, brick charging turn 1 with it. So if you go first, you can jail someone pretty hard.
They also hit pretty decently hard with 3 rolls because they have a lot of attacks and they have dev wounds on the charge and +1 to wound. What I'll say also is that Drukhari runs into the real issue that they don't have 2,000 points of good units.
That's so real. Being able to supplement that with Death Jester and Solitaire and Harlequin units, that does actually help. And then it's one of those detachments that I think once you master, someone like Skari or Quentin after some reps can really squeeze the juice out of the lemon, know how to sequence all the different things to constantly be triggering your army rule for those rerolls. But as a pick it up and play it army, I just don't think it's that great.
I don't think Drukhari is that regardless.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that Drukhari tends to run really tight on pain tokens because it generally takes 1 to 2 pain tokens to generate a pain token by killing something. So you naturally run low. Whereas Reaper's Wager can supplement that by having your units lose the wager, so they'll get rerolls regardless. And then that can get you more pain tokens, and the pain tokens can feed the Reaper's Wager. And then it kind of evens out that pain token economy.
Yeah.
In a way that the index detachment and Sky Splinter have problems with.
To me, I think this army is still mid. I mean, Harlequins are not the best data sheets in the game. Drukhari, their data sheets there are some really good ones, but they have been hit the points back quite a few times.
Somehow.
And you're just not made of anything, right? Like,
No, this is not above mid AF, but
Yeah.
I think it is mid.
I think it is mid. I think it's like right around there.
Yeah.
And next we've got regular vanilla Space Marines played in the Librarius Conclave.
The Librarius Conclave shockingly has some juice to it.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When this was first explained to me, I was like, "Why would you take Space Marine units and just add a bunch of librarians to it?" But when you do, and you stack all these rules onto it, it's like actually quite good.
Yeah, it's so the way I think of the Librarius Conclave is the detachment is worse than Angelic Inheritors. It's you can have all characters get basically the same buff, or you can have just Psychers get reroll ones, or you can switch into a different one. But you don't have to take Blood Angel units. You can take whatever combination of units you want. Do you want to take Ultramarines? Do you want to take? Do you want to get Better Oath? You certainly can. That being said, the detachment is basically just worse than the Blood Angel one at doing basically the same thing, but you have more flexibility on what units you can take.
Yeah. I do think that there is like enough diversity of librarians where you can start adding librarians like Terminators or Phobos librarians to those Phobos units, or regular librarians to regular units. And across all of the diversity of datasheet choices you have, you can string together quite a potent combination here.
I will tell you, I have looked at basically every single Space Marine character because I've been looking at the Blood Angel character detachment a lot. So I've looked at basically every Space Marine character, and there are a lot of ways you can like add a librarian or a Phobos Libby or something to some, and it's affordable. They're not expensive.
Like, I'm not gonna say this is the strongest way to play Space Marines or anything, but this is genuinely a strong way to play Space Marines.
I would say it's a strong detachment for sure. I also think that the Death Watch Librarius Conclave pretty solid because you get some good data sheets that love those buffs.
That's true. And even the Dark Angel one too, like add librarians to like Deathwing Knights and stuff.
Yeah, or especially if you have something like just a good character that's a Psyker, right? You can also add Draxus.
Najal the Stormcaller.
Yeah, he's not good. But
Yeah.
We've got a 20 gifted Art of War memberships from Chapter Master Ballsack. Thank you, buddy.
Master Ballsack OP! Thank you so much for your support. And if you're one of those people who've just been gifted a wonderful membership by Chapter Master Ballsack, do accept that. And then you can join the Discord server and get access to some premium content that only our War members get.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for your support, Chapter Master Ballsack. Next up, we've got the Grey Knights.
The Warpbane Task Force. So, what do you get if you give up most of your rules? You get rerolls to hit.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's reroll hits, and that stacks really nicely with, say, I don't know, Purgation squads with indirect fire.
Yeah, it definitely helps with Purgation squads. It helps a lot with Dread Knights, things like that. And you get a very shooting-oriented build. You still get your teleport, because that's from your army rule, not your detachment rule.
6-inch teleport even, sometimes.
Sometimes. It's a little annoying to get those. It doesn't go on anything. It only goes on infantry, not Terminators.
Yeah, and it has to go into an area that is your sacred ground.
And it has to be in your movement phase, so you can't take an objective and then get it back. There's a lot of hoops to jump through for that.
The 6-inch Chief Strike is a little overhyped, but the reroll hits on your army is not. That is actually quite good.
Yes. That is quite solid. I wonder if it is better than having Mists and Sigil and just those abilities and Armor of Contempt, right? Because you don't have it in this detachment.
To me, I think they're trying to do very different things. I like what you've done with your index detachment, like bunch of Terminators, playing the mission, woogity, and rapid ingressing and all that with Mists. But this, to me, feels like much more of a stat check style army. Like, here's my 4, 5, 6 Dread Knights. They're going to pick apart specific sections of the board with teleportation and reroll hits. And then I've got like 15 Purgations if I want to slow it down, just indirect fire screens. I've seen this army do pretty gross things on the table.
Sweet.
But it's also made of like very elite Space Marines and not many of them. And if you get a board that doesn't let you just deep strike and get a good line of sight, or if your Purgations are not got good profiles to line up into, you can really struggle for damage despite being a damage-based detachment.
Yeah, and the army is elite enough that it definitely struggles in the durability department. Like, everything has a 2-up save. That's awesome. But you have like 5 model units that are, 120 points.
There are other all-tank armies also. Like, if you're going to compare 6 Dread Knights to 6 Dreadnoughts and Custodes, it will probably beat you in a head-to-head.
Yeah, or for example, 6 Lehman Russes.
Oh god.
Yeah, that's not the comparison you really wanted.
I think in teams, this army is like actively disgusting because you can just kind of avoid those problems and prey upon some lists that are a little weaker to what you're trying to do. In singles, I think this is a little bit of I hope I get the right pairing type of army.
Yeah, I would say so. I do think there could also be a build that's MSU combat because Terminators are very good at taking objectives, and 5-man Terminators are not that expensive. It's cheaper to take cheaper to take 2 5s than 1 10.
Yeah.
Weird the way they've done it, but it's cool. And in Warpbane, they actually have good combat because they reroll the hits. So I could see a build like that. I have not actually put that on the table, but that's just an idea. If you took 1,200 points for 6 5-man squads of Terminators that are all OC3 and each heal a guy, and that could be pretty annoying to deal with.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I haven't seen that MSU version of this detachment. I'm eager to see what it looks like. But based on what I have seen, the Dread Knight and Purgation Purifier detachment, I think it's strong.
I think it's strong. I think it's strong.
Yeah. It's got raw power and it's got teleportation. That will carry you pretty far.
Yeah. Teleporting guns, pretty solid.
Yeah, it's a classic. Next up, we've got Genestealer Cults, my 4-armed friends. How did they make you better? By giving you gargoyles and lictors and +1 to hit on your army. That's how.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh my god, what a great detachment Final Days. I lets you ally in.
All right, let me just turn this around for a second.
Lets you ally in some Tyranids, get those Vanguard Invader units, which let me tell you is mostly lictors and gargoyles, but you could do some other cute stuff if you're interested. And then if your Tyranids get within 6 inches of the enemy, which gargoyles, then your army is +1 to hit. All your Genestealer Cults. Ridge Runners hit on 2s. The Rocksaw Boys hit on 2s. Metamorphs hit on 2s. Aberrants hit on 2s. 2s is a great number to hit on. And then
that's pretty good.
And then you get 1 CP reroll wounds if they're within 6, which they are. So you get +1 to hit and reroll wounds by taking your gargoyles and contesting their objective. I got nothing left to say. I'm probably going to take this to LVO.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you didn't at this point.
Look, I tried every single demon detachment.
No, you didn't.
Except Khorne.
Yeah.
And Jack's got a monopoly on the Khorne.
I'm going to be playing on stream soon.
That's true. That's true. I'm excited for that. But no, this army, it's so good at scoring because like Genestealer Cult plus Lictors and Gargoyles is like the best scoring package like in the game. And then it's got the damage to back it up.
Yeah, no, Final Day is a very solid detachment. Again, hold on, let me just put some more infiltrators in my list.
Yeah. One of the nice things about Final Day is it's not totally based on like 6-inch deep strikes and making your opponent miserable that way. So infiltrators don't hard counter it. And I like not getting hard countered. This is a top tier army.
Yeah,
I'll put it over here. I'm put it right by Guard and Custodes. I like it there.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. We'll do a head-to-head. We'll see who's...
Yeah, we will.
We'll see.
We'll see if our next army is top tier. Imperial Agents.
Okay, so it is not an exaggeration to say that this detachment would be better if it was completely blank.
Yeah, you actively have to pay a premium cost, like your assassins cost more in this detachment just to play this detachment because they are better assassins.
So your detachment rule and your enhancements, both are taken up, forcing you, extorting you at gunpoint to pay 40 points per assassin to get a buff that is like 10 points.
Yeah. You're
forced to.
A lot of times there's attachment that's not that great, and contextually it's not that good when you compare it to like an index version of it or a codex version. But this is like insultingly bad.
It's, again,
there is not a redeeming thing about this.
Would be better if it was completely blank. I don't want to pay 140 for a Calexis that grenades on 3s. I don't care. I don't care.
But then you roll 1s and 2s. Like, what are we doing?
I still have to spend the CP. It's not free, Nick.
I know. And he deep strike 6 away, not 3. That is worse.
Yeah. So that's pretty trash. And then you have strats that are mid, right? So your detachment rule and your enhancements are conspiring together to make your army worse. And then you have mid strats.
I can't. Yeah, we're done. Goodbye, Imperial Agents. You had your time in the sun. You still have a good detachment.
Imperialis fleet is legitimately a good detachment. Needs more data sheets, but it's legitimately a good detachment.
Look, we're happy that you got a codex. That's more than I can say about my demons. Next up, we've got Imperial Knights.
They exist.
They got AdMech joined to their army. That's what you can do.
They can Overwatch big knights now.
Brian likes that.
Yeah, he was like one-tapping John's army with them.
We do have a Knight Joust available in the Worm. You can watch Brian play the new Knight Detachment versus the John playing the new Chaos Knight Detachment. I have no idea what happened in that game.
All I know is that I think Brian overwatched 4 times and killed 3 vehicles.
Sounds top
Like
tier
from
to me.
fall.
Okay, I feel like this is a lot like Chaos Knights in that it's like the same, except now you have AdMech units and you can overwatch a big knight. But Imperial Knights, in my opinion, are just like worse than Chaos Knights.
Yeah, I would put them in contextually not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're also ranking this detachment on its detachment, not like the army. So maybe this detachment is mid?
No. Why?
No.
Why would it be mid? It's not good.
Okay. It's not mid. That's
Yeah,
true.
It's not. Is it mid? No.
it's not
Okay.
mid. I wanted to be kind. I felt bad, but I
Yeah.
shouldn't.
The index detachment gives you the 6-up feel no pain.
That is true. I guess you lose durability. Okay.
You can already take agents, right? It's not like
See, I feel like contextually this is about as good as the index detachment.
I am not allowing Imperial Knights up into mid AF because they're bad. Right?
Okay, Jack won't let me be backwards.
This is pity points, and I will not have it.
Okay, fine. But can we give Khorne no pity points? Because they're an army.
They are, I think, actually legitimately. I don't think they're top tier, but I think they're strong.
What do you like about the Khorne detachment?
They have the most obnoxious objective control mechanic in the game. That is basically what sells them to me. They have good stratagems too, right? They help out their mobility, which was the biggest thing that was lacking, right? They have advanced in charge. They have run through walls. Those help a ton. But the most obnoxious part of the army is the detachment rule. And the detachment rule reads, if you kill something on an objective, it stickies the objective. And then if your opponent ends a move within 6 inches of you, you blood surge. That's every unit in your army can do that once per movement phase. That needs to be seen to be believed how annoying it is. I legitimately just had my army in the center of the board against, I was playing into Death Guard, which is like horrible counter. But I just had my army in the center and he drew containment. And would you like to know what happened? He could not score it. Because if he walked out of his deployment zone, he was risking getting tagged.
Oh my god. Yeah, if you're trying to play a game where you need to get close to the Khorne army, they're going to rip you to pieces. And I think it's a little vulnerable to oops, I got shot. But maybe that I haven't seen this played. I have not really tried it myself.
I will say you can be a lot more durable than you can be in like Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Because a lot of your 5-up invulns become 4-up invulns.
To be clear, Slaanesh is made of a wet paper bag. That's like saying you can be more durable than Drukhari.
Sure, but you got to start somewhere. Like blood crushers are pretty tough. Blood crushers are pretty durable. You can actually make bloodletters kind of annoying to remove, especially if it's one at a time, because you can give them a 3-up armor save and then they're in cover.
Yeah.
And if they don't wipe the whole thing, the character at the end does like half the damage anyway, and then they can heal.
You also do have speed. There's an advance in charge strat and a move through wall strat, which like combined together even can let like a bloodthirster Kool-Aid man through a wall over a unit with fly and just like hit something really credible.
Yeah, with real hits and wounds, because
Yeah.
you can give them an enhancement for that. Khorne does not have an issue hitting hard. It has an issue with everything else. And this detachment does not help it hit harder, but it helps it with everything else. And that's pretty helpful.
Yeah. And then it also helps it hit harder because anyone who has run an index bloodthirster can tell you that is the most disappointing data sheet that exists in Warhammer.
Reroll hits and wounds helps a lot. Yeah, no, it helps.
It does.
It does. The army is kind of obnoxious to remove all at once, so its all in is pretty decently strong. And just the sheer annoyance. Again, I cannot emphasize enough. I go onto an objective with bloodletters. I kill you. I stick you the objective. Bloodletters are pretty cheap now.
Oh, yeah.
If you walk onto that objective, you're in combat with me. I will blood surge into you. If you don't go on the objective and you shoot me, then I score the objective because it's sticky. And there's not like a terrific way around that.
I do want to just like tangentially note that Bloodletters started this edition at 160 points for 10, and now they're 110.
Are you joking?
I'm not.
They hit legitimately with a Bloodmaster or with Skulltaker. They hit very hard.
They really like just a basic Bloodmaster, no enhancements, 10 Bloodletters will kill most things in the game.
I also lied. The detachment does help you with damage. There is an aura of Lance that you're allowed to take. So, and then the Blood Masters are +1 to wound anyway. So a lot of the time, if you point a single Rend Master at a target, you're swinging in at 6/3/3 +1 to wound, reroll 1s to wound off of your Bloodletters.
Yeah.
That slams.
I'm thinking this army is actually strong. It's got some problems, but I think every version of Demons has different problems. But, you know, it does what it does really well.
Yeah, it solves the melee issue in the same way, in a better way than World Eaters did, right? Its data sheets needed more help, but it solves it in a better way, which is I'm just going to sticky objectives and force you to come to me. And then when you do, I'll Blood Surge at you. And that is really obnoxious. Yeah. And if you get on objectives, the pain in your opponent's eyes when they realize that to take their expansion objective back, they have to solve like a 15-step crossword puzzle in order to take their expansion back. And then they look at the center objective, which is also sticky, and you can also Blood Surge on it. And they're like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta not let them get their ball rolling. Once they get their combo going of like sticky and Blood Surge, it's really hard to beat. You gotta get it before that.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Leagues of Votann, which I personally have not read, but I am assured by the robot himself that this is terrible.
Yeah. So would you like one of the best 750-point armies in the game? You still won't go to Votann. But if you did, you would find out that there's only one data sheet that Votann Detachment buffs. It buffs their Hearthguard. You cannot make an army out of 30 Hearthguard. Trust me, Richard's tried.
Yeah. And it's not just that like it doesn't buff the other data sheets. It takes away judgment tokens. Votann without judgment tokens, I don't know if you played against that, but like one of my tactics against Votann is to not let them put judgment tokens on everything. Anything they shoot at that doesn't have a judgment token just lives.
Yeah, so you get the normal judgment tokens. You don't get the 4 double judgment at the start of the game, and that's like
the same thing. That's the most of them, you know?
Yeah, that's like all of them.
Yeah, right? I mean,
they get like 4 during the game, and they get 8 at the start, and just not getting the 8 at the start is rough, especially if it's an army that encourages you to take big squads of Hearthguard. Trust me, they're not going to be killing that many units.
As a Demon player, I view Votann as one of my hardest matchups because their army gets +1 hit and wound versus every monster I take. But when they don't, because they just don't, it's fine. It's like an easy free matchup. And I think that extends to pretty much most of the armies. This is... Okay, is this contextually not great, or is this what the...
It's trash. Like, it's terrible.
It is trash. It's comparatively trash, and then it's also trash.
Again, I'm not going to let this army get its way out of trash tier. It's in trash tier.
It's not as bad as Agents.
No, true. Agents is the worst.
You're not penalized for playing it.
Yeah. It does feel that way because the balanced data slate updates that made Votann better all went on the detachment, not on the units.
Yeah.
So if you take the detachment away, you're kind of rolling back buffs.
At some point in the future of time, I expect Votann will get a codex, and hopefully that will make this better.
Yeah, it has to. Again, I can't overstate how much all of the buffs go on Hearthguard, and that is it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with just buffing one type of data sheet because the Necron Star Shatter really does that.
No. One data sheet, not one type.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, because Necron's buff, let me check. Hold on. Vehicles and mounted. That's good. They had to reach real deep on their shelf to find those unused dusty models like the Doomsday Arc.
Yeah.
Blow them off and put them on the table. The Silent King, nobody's seen him in a good while.
Did you know he's a vehicle?
He is. He is a vehicle.
But it's okay, though. Necrons don't have any mounted units like destroyers or anything like that.
Well, they weren't taking them before because they were bad. Oh, wait. No, they weren't. They were taking them already.
Okay. But, like, what do you even get in this detachment? You get an aura of reroll 1s to hit and wound. Silent King already did that.
Yeah, so you just have it either cheaper, right? You either have a 160-point Silent King now, or however many he's in that ballpark, or you have that and the Silent King to ignore mods in an aura, or you have that and the Silent King to have reroll 1s to hit wound in 2 places on the board.
Oh my.
You have some real options here.
I don't think it stops there because, like, after you shoot the Necrons, they get to react.
Yep, they have a 6-inch reactive move for mounted and vehicle. Again, why are we buffing Necron vehicles? The thing that's been oppressive. Okay, so they get a 6-inch reactive move on or D6 reactive move on anything, which first off is crazy after you shoot at them, especially in an army that reanimates. But it's a 6-inch on vehicles and mounted.
This isn't like a reactive move on some Eldar Guardians. Like, there's gonna be a tank there that gets to react after you're done shooting it.
Yeah, the Silent King can reactive move. The Silent King can be given -1 damage. That's not even to mention the detachment rule, which is just assault on everything and +1 to hit against objectives, which is pretty damn solid. Yeah, the detachment has the grossest set of rules in Grotmas. There is one caveat.
Yeah, I've yet to actually see this do that well against top players consistently.
I have not seen it either. I have seen it rather dramatically fail to score.
Yes, like I have beaten this army in a practice game while getting tabled. Like
that's how you win.
It's so bad at scoring. One of the things that makes Hypercrypt oppressively good is that while it's teleporting guns that you have to like be respectful of and all that stuff, it's also just like, oh, I drew this card, I'm gonna score that card. And this army really doesn't have that at all.
No, I think in my game against Siegs, he scored like a 3 points on secondaries in the first 3 turns. It was not where it was at. I have seen this army I've seen it like absolutely table somebody, but get pushed, like get all in, get pushed back, destroy them, and then be so far away from objectives that they can't get back because they're the most unwieldy army I've ever seen.
It's huge models that really do not move around the table well, do get move blocked despite fly because they are just that big. You have to land somewhere outside of an inch of the enemy plus walls. It's got real practical limitations. Now, I think against like the mid-table bullies of the world where the players might not be able to capitalize on those mistakes, I think this is going to decimate them, where it's more of just stat battling.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if this detachment had a high win rate. I know it has a high win rate now.
It does.
I would not be surprised if it kept that high win rate while having a lower events win than you would expect for that win rate.
One of the things that we like to do here when we make tier lists is not just think about like how much can this army like get an increase on the win percentage, because that doesn't tell the whole story. We're interested in like winning events, going undefeated, that kind of stuff. And I think this detachment will fall flat there.
I agree. It does not score well. It does get stuck back pretty hard. And I think it could at some point, that's not now, be poised for a renaissance when people finally figure out how to make the army score. Right? Once they do that, then potentially we can talk about it being like an incredible world-shattering army that beats everybody.
Yeah.
But currently, I think it's very good against players who allow it to just shoot them in the face.
Right.
And it's not that great against people who know how to hold objectives outside line of sight and position and, you know, put threat down and stall. And it just has issues there. I have seen it get dramatically outscored while its units are doing the grossest things I've ever seen.
I agree. I think it's a strong detachment. I think it's like got a lot of the tools you need to break into top tier. Like the power is there, but it's just not got the scoring, and you need the full package.
Yeah, and also if you just ram the Silent King straight down Main Street at your opponent, I promise you they'll kill it. Like a good army will. A good army.
Some
will.
armies will. My Genestealer Cult probably won't.
Sorry, good armies will.
What's in top tier right now,
Also,
Jack?
you would kill it. Don't lie to me.
No, I'm just going to score 100, and they're going to score less than 100.
They're going to score like a 40.
Next up, we got Nurgle. Now, Papa Nurgle is blessed. I know most people, especially the Demon fans, are largely down on this detachment, and I don't blame you. On the surface level, it does look like Papa Nurgle's poo-poo, but... let me tell you, I played this not once, not twice, but like 10 times already. I'm really excited about this detachment. The battle shocks are real.
They come from every angle. Like it's just every direction. It's like, oh my god, it's another battle shock. At -1 that you take D3 mortals if you fail.
My command phase take a battle shock. Your command phase take 2 battle shocks. The fight phase take another one. Sloppy's near you take 2 more. Like
shooting phase take a battle shock.
It's actually insane. And then I've worked it out where I enjoy taking blue horrors here. So you take a Poxbringer, you take blue horrors, you play Nurgle Demons, and you're testing at -3. I don't care what you are. You could be a chaplain leading a unit, you're testing on an 8. Yeah.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah, and God forbid you're not a chaplain leading a unit. You're like leadership 6, like most armies that are good at leadership in the game. You're testing on 9s. And if you're one of those lead 7 armies where I don't need to get the combo going and you're just like always testing on 8s and 9s, forget it. Your army exists in the realm of battle shock. It is very hard to do Warhammer when you don't have OC and cannot do actions.
Especially when you can't bank on any... It's like Tyranids on crack, right? Because your opponent can't guarantee any of their plans work. And you just keep going, battle shock, battle shock, battle shock. You make it rain at the club battle shocks.
Yeah.
And occasionally, some of them, they'll pass.
Now,
But some of them, they'll fail. And you're like, well, wow, that was a nice little present of 5 points. That's just for me.
Now, it's not only the 5 points. It is a rate of battle shocks, which actually accrues to damage as well. Now, I'm not saying this is like a damage dealing army that's going to table you, but I have played it into like tougher things like Custodes, Dreadnought spam and stuff. And like D3 Mortals, D3 Mortals, D3 Mortals, D3 Mortals really adds up. And God forbid you get the Cankerblade Sloppity going. I had pulled off this combo where I was fighting against a unit of 2 bikes and a captain, and every time they failed a battle shock, a bike dies. I literally killed a bike, shot the last bike, killed the captain for free on battle shocks.
Oh, so you killed the bike, then made him take a battle shock, and then he died?
Yes. Like there's a lot of hilarity you can do here. Now, it is a little bit slow. It doesn't really fly unless you take plague drones, which are still terrible, I promise. I've tried them. It's got a damage issue. And I think for those reasons, it's not going to be like a great army. But man, if it wasn't made of Nurgle data sheets, this would be the toppest tier army.
Listen, scoring points is the best thing an army can do, and this just scores points.
You take 60 Plague Bearers, you tell your opponent they don't have OC, and how long can your Plague Bearers hold objectives? It's pretty long.
It's a while. It's some time, for sure.
Yeah, it's not like one turn.
It's yeah, I mean, you tell your opponent, you have to table me to make this stop.
Yeah.
And it will take some time.
And like then your goal shifts as the Nurgle player. You're not trying to like, you're playing your own game of like take a battle shock and like stall your opponent killing you, which is like jam 6 Nurglings in their face. All right, deal with that for a turn while my Plague Bearers are safely on this objective. And then send those Plague Bearers forward while 10 other Plague Bearers are safely on the objective. Meanwhile, like great and clean ones are like doing things on the objective.
I suppose.
Yeah, like they're also there, and like eventually the damage adds up too.
Yeah, we're actually playing that game tomorrow live on YouTube. We're playing the Black Templar Detachment into the Nurgle Demons.
This is gonna be exciting.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is and make Jack take some battle shocks. So many battle shocks.
I do not want to take that many battle shocks.
So many.
Stop making me take battle shocks.
I will never. Okay, the real talk though, like. It's not top tier, but I'm willing to argue for strong detachment here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You think so? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I agree.
This is actually a really good detachment.
I also think it's a pretty damn good team's army. I think all of the demons actually are pretty good teams.
Yeah, all the demon armies have like a specific weakness to their archetype, and like they're really good at what they do, which makes them great at teams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Another army, which I think got such a glow up, and no one is even talking about it, is Orks.
I've seen people talking about it.
Not enough people are talking about it. Raise Orc awareness.
Yeah, so the tactical brigade is pretty darn good. It comes with a wide variety of rules. You can give your army +1 to hit and shooting. It's only infantry, but still. You can give your army stealth and always in cover. That's pretty solid. You have some good stratagems. You have some really good enhancements. Mech Captain is an incredible enhancement. You can join a unit of Flash Gits with a Big Mech, especially Big Mech in Mega Armor. And that gives them all an invuln, and then Mech Captain gives them reroll hits. And that's pretty good. I don't know if you know.
I know.
Yeah, no, I know you know.
I know. The Flash Gits with reroll hits and crit 5s, it's like another level of pain. And then you've got like great mission play.
I don't think they can get crit 5s.
Well,
No. They get lethal sustained, though.
Okay, it's enough shots that I feel like it's crit 5s.
That's fair. You were dying very quickly when I shot you.
It could have been crit 2s for all I care. I died either way.
Yeah, you were dead. And that, I think, is the point here.
When I lost 10 HARs on Overwatch, that's when I knew.
Yeah.
And then they have other stuff going, like army-wide stealth whenever you want, or +1 to hit whenever you want, or like going up and down Storm Boys and battle line Storm Boys. It's got a lot of stuff.
I think it's competing with a very good detachment in Warhorde, and I still need to see which one comes out ahead. But man, both those detachments are very solid, especially with the Orc buffs. They put Watt in the command phase finally.
With that WOG change, now I don't know which one's better between Tactical Brigade or Warhorde, but I think both of those detachments are top tier detachments.
Yeah, I think they're both very strong.
Yeah,
very strong.
Orcs are a real contender these days,
for sure.
And
Sisters.
Okay, my Sisters fans,
the Sacrosanct detachment.
I think it's good. I know everybody is like, Sacrosancts are garbage, but like, no, it's just not Bringers of Flame. We got to flush Bringers of Flame out of our minds. That's gone. That's never coming back. Goodbye. Good riddance. We now have to go play Sisters the way they're meant to be played, with like janky little tactical things.
Nick never liked the raw hammer of damage.
Played it. I took it to Europe. I get it, but it's not my thing.
No, even the lists you take that have the raw hammer of damage, you're still like, what if I'm janky with it, though?
I am.
You'd play the Custodes Dreadnought list and be like, Ooh, this is a neat little place to put my one dreadnought.
He's going strategic reserve.
Of course.
Next, I'm going to rapid ingress him. But this isn't about custodians. This is about sacrosancts. And I genuinely think this detachment's good. OC2 sacrosancts lets you unlock a lot of things sisters want, which is OC2 outside of a battle sister. And let me tell you, paying for battle sisters, it's not a fun experience. They don't do anything. They literally walk around. Having like one squad that combat squads with an immolator is fine. After that, you're just like, what am I taking here? And then you get nice things like 6-inch pile-in and consolidates outside of the closest model, which you can use for janky little tactical plays. And you can increase your damage. And you increase your speed. With Triumph buffs, +1 to charge from your thing, +1 move from your thing, you can really get going.
You can make some units hit pretty darn hard.
+3-inch move, +1 to charge, use a miracle dice for that charge, and then 6-inch pile consolidate. It's a lot of stuff to do, but you can like missile sisters in a way to guarantee movement to like an objective point or something in a way that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a very 9th edition Repentia kind of way.
Yeah. Now, that said, our data sheets are a little pricey. And that's not our detachment's fault. That is Bringers of Flame's fault. So we can blame them. But I think with that context, this is
Blame
like...
them, says the guy who's played Bringers of Flame to multiple tournaments.
We can blame Bringers.
It's their fault. Over there.
Hate the game, not the player. I think Sisters fall into that weird realm between mid and strong, but I think they're more mid than strong.
Yeah.
Makes me sad, but they're not bad.
They're not bad.
It's
a solid.
They're genuinely
detachment.
not bad.
It's a solid. It's not like
I
strong.
think you can take
solid.
Sisters to a small GT and win it still.
Yeah.
Slaanesh Demons. Now this is one with a lot of different takes on how good or bad this is. I've tried this fairly extensively, and I think it's really good when it works. Its damage is outrageous, and its speed is decent, but its durability is like not.
Oh, it's not there.
Not there.
I've watched this army. It's also really big. Like, it's a really big army that collapses so fast.
Yeah. Now, there's a few different ways you can write this. You can go full-blown stat check with, like, 3 Keepers and Shalaxi and maybe some Soul Grinders. Or you can, like, be mildly more reasonable and take, like, 12 Fiends and some Seekers and maybe do the Contorted Epitome combo and, like, 2 Keepers. That more balanced version is definitely the style I prefer. But I do think, like, the stat check version, especially in teams, has real legs.
Yeah, I think for sure. It can also prey on vehicles really well because the vehicles don't care if you give up your fights first and the vehicle bonks you with 3 attacks at 601.
I'll tell you, when I played this against Quayton's Armored War Host Eldar detachment, it looked real good.
Oh, I'm sure it did. But against something like World Eaters or Orks.
No, I think it's really going to struggle versus a lot of the top armies. And that's because the top armies have no issues demolishing your Slaanesh stat lines, and you will have an issue against like Orks, Fabi, Spile, Blood Angels, and Custodians. You're gonna have an issue like triggering Seductive Gambit because they'll just kill you first. And against armies like GSC and Guard, I think you're just gonna get out attrition because they have like 200 bodies and you just don't.
The army does die very fast. Like, you can go from looking awesome to, oh my god, I just lost 18 fiends in one turn.
Yeah, you can have an amazing go turn followed up by I don't have an army now.
Yeah. It can 100% happen. Keepers are probably the answer to that, but
They definitely are. They're your durable piece. And they do damage, and they fall back in charge. I think Keepers are actually one of the best things in this attachment.
For sure.
But Keepers alone are not going to put the game on their back and carry you to victory all the time.
No. What I will say, though, is that it is this dangerous set of rules to give an army.
It is. It is. I think this is another one that, for me, floats between mid and strong, but I think it's stronger than the Sisters detachment.
I would say so.
I do.
I would say so.
It's
I
right
don't think we're really ranking too much in the tiers. So if you're getting particularly caught up in like where one ranks specifically, why is it directly above or below one other?
Yeah.
They're all kind of vibes based.
Vibes based. How are you vibing with Space Wolves?
That detachment's terrible.
What does it do?
It has 3-inch heroics on every unit, basically. If they end, so it gives up having basically buffs to the army. In exchange for your units can 3-inch heroic like it's 9th edition. If they end their turn within 3, you can charge them.
Yeah.
The problem here is that regular Space Marine datasheets in combat, not the best. In shooting, great. And Ultramarine, like characters going in regular Space Marine datasheets, those are good. Blood Angel datasheets, those are good. Dark Angel datasheets, Black Templar datasheets, those hit pretty hard. But Space Wolves, No, they don't. What are you heroicing with Blade Guard? Like, what is this?
It also, well, it like doesn't buff Thunderwolves. To me, Thunderwolves is the reason to play Space Wolves competitively. Like just trying to do Wolf Jail.
No, it buffs your
and variety.
Terminators.
Yeah. If I want to take Terminators, I'm playing Dark Angels.
It doesn't buff their damage, the thing they need. It gives them like +1 OC, because you're not going to want to take them regardless. I think this falls into what? The bleep.
Really? This isn't just contextually not that good?
No, because the detachment is terrible. Like, the data sheets are fine. The detachment is terrible.
All right, I'll ship it. I don't know about Space Wolves, but rest in peace.
We're ranking the detachments.
We are. Speaking of detachments, Tau have a detachment, and it incentivizes you to take Kroot, which means that it's top tier.
Yeah. Nick has a love for Kroot despite being the #1 Kroot killer.
No, that's you guys trolling me. It has nothing to do with that.
He loves it. Sometimes he gets killed by 99 attack Kroot that have 99 wounds.
That did happen.
That's a bit of a deep cut. But I like this detachment for basically one reason.
What's that?
Tau is very good at killing you when you step out.
Yeah.
So being better at killing your opponent once they've stepped out, not really that impactful.
Right.
What is nicer to me is being able to better force your opponent to step out. And this detachment has a tremendous amount of ways to do that, combined with some damage buffs as well.
Yeah, you're right. Tau don't struggle for the damage in most cases. They struggle for like setting up the ways to apply the damage, like getting your opponent to come out from behind walls, or like winning a scenario in which you are forced to be the aggressor as the Tau player. That can be difficult. This detachment gives you a lot of like tactical play because you're taking a lot more Kroot and Vespid in those data sheets that really are cheap and expendable.
Well, you also have a ton of ways to contest objectives away. There's a lot of ways to make Kroot and Vespid go very far and give them bonus OC.
Yeah.
And so, you can hold objectives with Kroot Hounds because you can give them +1 OC. You can take Vespid, make them OC2, and send them yard in order to take objectives away. And they're also very cheap. So if you just have on repeat Vespid of taking objectives away, your opponent has to step out at some point to make something happen. And then you just lay into them with Tau data sheets that get bonuses off of having Kroot or Vespid near them.
Yeah. Now it's not that easy. Vespid are like OC1, so
They go to OC2 if you have the enhancement. If you have the enhancement.
I'll take that enhancement.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah. I've played against this detachment. I think it's pretty effective. I would call this a strong detachment.
For sure.
Yeah. I think it's actually like kind of in that pseudo space where Sisters are too. We actually played Sisters vs. Tau. It was a really good game in the Worm. But I think, because I know we're ranking detachments, but that gives context. I think Tau have better data sheets. So I'm going to give it to Tau here.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Thousand Suns.
Yeah, so Thousand Suns data sheets are fine now. They're pretty decent. Their detachment, the index detachment, crazy. But the new Grotmas Detachment is terrible. And the reason it's terrible is because it gives you rerolls 1s to wound with your psychic weapons. We already had that on the data sheet. Yeah. Oh, it gives you +1 to wound. Well, if you do that, it takes away the reroll 1s to wound, and you already have +1 to wound off of Magnus. So oftentimes you want to not be in your Shadow of Magic thing because if you are in it, then suddenly it turns off your rerolls, which you already have the +1 to wound. It doesn't give you buffs that you don't already have, and that is kind of a problem. And the army is balanced around the index detachment. The points on Thousand Suns are brutally expensive. That army is incredibly expensive, and it's balanced around being able to reroll hits and wounds and give dev wounds to everything. Buffs that actually matter. Yeah. Whereas reroll 1s to wound on just psychic weapons and +1 to wound on just psychic weapons are buffs your whole army already has.
Yeah. It's like not a good detachment because of all the things that Jack just said, but then also it's not doing anything that I care about. The coolest thing you can do here is Deep Strike Terminator 6 inches away and like do something with that. But it has to be in your shadows, which is already hard to set up because again, Thousand Suns are not a midfield boxing kind of army. You're not going to just hold half the objectives in midfield at the start of your movement phase. And that means you're not really triggering that rule. And then it's just strictly worse at damage than the index. And as Jack said, all the points are kind of centered around the index as well.
Yeah, well, the index gives you things you don't already have, like dev wounds and reroll hits and wounds. And this exclusively gives you things you already have, which means I would want to put it in the lowest category.
See, I feel like our whole argument, though, is that it's bad next compared to the index and because the index exists.
No, I think it's bad because it gives you exclusively things you don't care about.
Yeah.
And like if you forget the index, Thousand Sons with that detachment are not.
They are a bad army. That is not a good army. That's true. That's true. I'll give you that. They are. If this was the only way to play Thousand Sons, they would be one of the worst armies in the game.
Yes.
Next up, we've got the Tzeench Demons.
That's right.
Which is, I think, the strongest of the demons, having played many of them many times. They have a lot of trickery. They are actually quite durable with flex dice and just army-wide 4 pinballs for playing Tzeench. You really do the non-interactive style of Warhammer great, which works against most of the armies in the game.
There is one issue.
What's that?
It's a teleport army that teleports exclusively 9 inches away and does not do damage.
Yeah, I don't even view it really as a teleport army. It's just like a thing it can do. To me, it just like it scores and, does chip damage at your scoring elements, like shoot a Lord of Change and a Fate Weaver at 5 scouts. And then now do that enough times and your actions will start getting harder and you'll kind of lose the edge cases. It's not great all the time. It's got a hard counter from like Orks. It doesn't really love a Fabius Bile matchup. I think Custodes Dreads could be pretty tough. It's got some interesting things, though, that does help it kind of matchup spread-wise, because you have a 4 Feeling of Pain against Dev Wounds and Psychic Weapon attacks, so things like Thousand Sons and Grey Knights become oddly free. It can definitely just get outstat, and I think that's its core problem, but if you're the type of army that wants to play a KG game back at it, or you don't have an army that is designed to just run up and stat check you, I think Tzeench will beat you at that game.
It's pretty good at that, at that game. The problem is that there's no... if you're standing off and you're shooting indirect and weird shots to pick up their trash, if your opponent just all-ins you need to have something behind it.
Yeah.
And they don't. That stuff that's combining fire to pick up 5 scouts, that is their highest damage output.
Well, you have some options there. You can either take the DM Prince with the Warpblade, or you can take a Lord Change with the Warpblade. That guy legitimately slams. You can also attempt to drown your opponent in pink horrors, which some opponents will just chew through and some opponents won't. That makes your army more of a stat check. And the other variation that I've been experimenting with is just 18 Screamers to try to meet somebody in midfield. But I do agree. If people who get themselves into a long range, pick off the edges firefight with Tzeench will probably lose, incentivizing them to just run straight at you. Against the armies that are good at running straight at you, you're probably going to lose. So I think that's its big holdback.
Yeah, it doesn't fight its way out of being put in a box.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an issue. I'd probably say that it's in
You have no respect for this style of army.
I do have a lot.
I start off by saying it's the strongest of the demon detachments, which by default puts it here.
I think it's the worst of the demon detachments.
All right, we're splitting the difference.
I have respect for that style of army. I don't particularly love. I like pink horrors. Pink horrors are nasty. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it gets put in a box a little easily.
Yeah, I think that all of the demon detachments have a different specific problem. Nurgle does actual no damage outside of battle shocks. Slaanesh is made of tissue paper. I have not tried Khorne. I will maintain they have disadvantages. And Tzeench, I think it just fails some damage checks and gets blitzed sometimes, and that makes me sad. But they got good things going on. They really do.
I really wish that the plus strength plus AP strat were 1 CP. That would help out a lot. Being able to spam it every turn.
As weirdly as Tzeench Demons, if we're looking at the top, loses badly to Orks, I think it can genuinely beat Guard. It's just got weird matchup spreads like that. But nonetheless,
that makes it a pretty decent team's army.
It does.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them Tyranids.
All right. So
the Warrior Onslaught.
That's right. Yeah. Buffs a lot of warriors. I think that this detachment, from what I remember, is fairly decent. Gives pretty good buffs, but it's to warriors.
Yeah,
which are not.
They're trying to help warriors, which warriors do kind of suck. I've seen variations of this, which is take a ton of warriors and you have ludicrous durability, but you don't. You're still made of warriors. Yeah. Giving them 6 up, feeling the pain or whatever is not really going to fix that. It does help.
It does help.
I think personally this is the most mid detachment that exists.
Yeah. No, it's the poster child for mid AF, which is great because the poster child for contextually not great is right here. I think that the Vessels of Wrath detachment, and we unfortunately do not have Death Watch here. We'll still have to talk about it.
Yeah.
But the Vessels of Wrath detachment is fine. It's okay. The problem is it is worse at doing the same thing that the Berserker Warband is doing, which is it takes the exact same units, basically in the exact same configurations, and it just doesn't hit as hard and doesn't have as good support at doing a melee game plan. In exchange, you get more reliable advance and charge. I personally don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I've played against this army. It felt like worse World Eaters. And then I've seen it played a bunch of times in practice, and every time it has seemed like worse World Eaters. So, as you said, I think this is the definition of contextually not great.
Yeah.
If the World Eaters Index didn't exist and this was the only way to play them, I think it would still be okay.
It would just be kind of...
It would just be worse. It would just be a worse version of what it is currently doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is demons. This is because this is the old icon. We have ranked all our demon detachments. The one we're missing is Death Watch. And that's because they weren't a faction until like 2 weeks ago. So they're back. We'll fix that for the next one. But Death Watch, where would we rank the Death Watch?
I think Death Watch personally is top tier. It's a very good army.
You think it's that good?
I think it's very good.
What does the new detachment give them?
It's basically what the old detachment was, and the old detachment was gross.
Yeah.
It teleports these really nasty units around the board and shoots with them.
And they're Space Marine units.
And they're space... No, they're better. They're better than... Because it's an index, right? It's a Death Watch index and a detachment. And the index kill teams are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, the profiles on the weapons off of the Indomitor kill team is gross. You have like a heavy bolter that's like 7-2-3 sustained 2 or some nonsense like that. I forget. It was a storm of profiles that it was like +1 to every stat. You can combine the Terminator squads are vile, right? The 5-man Terminator squads with 3 Cyclone missile launchers for not that expensive is pretty ridiculous. You teleport around. You have some great enhancements. You have some great stratagems because now all of the stratagems work with non-bolt weapons, which was the issue before. Mm-hmm. And you can make some really, really, really good, like the fast kill team, like the Talon Strike kill team or whatever it's called, where you get the Plasma Scepters plus the JPI is really, really good. You can basically make every unit hit really hard and they all teleport. And that...
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And they're also very tough because they're like T5, T6, 3-wound Marine bodies everywhere. You have like little Thief of Secrets dude ready to have a ridiculous stat line. He's like friggin' 12-4-4 or some nonsense like that. I don't know. It felt like he was making rules up.
Yeah, no, honestly, Death Watch, I've only seen it played one time in recent history, and it slammed the game, like, super hard. I think that take Space Marine data sheets, make them better, give them teleport. It's a great foundation for an army.
Straight up, if I weren't, all in on Angelic Inheritors, I would have probably played a lot of my practice games with Death Watch. That army looks sick, and it also looks very good.
Nice. Well, I feel weird putting demons in top tier because we don't have Death Watch, but that's Death Watch are up there. Oh,
they're just on the tier list now.
Now they're over there.
Now
okay.
They're Death Watch.
Okay, demons are Death Watch, folks.
Demons are Death Watch.
All right, we got a ton of super chats to hit. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful support, folks. Let's start at the top. Zinth, who's been a member for 18 months. Grotmas was so awesome. Bile has been absolute gas, and I cannot wait to get Reaper's Wager on the table. So many fun new lists to try out this month. Yeah, there's so many new lists. Warhammer's more exciting than ever right now.
It's a completely new game, and I love figuring that out. It's also, unlike when the indexes all came out, it's a completely new game where every detachment feels very intentional and feels, well, most of them. There's a couple down there.
Imperial Agents.
Imperial Agents. I don't know what they were intending. I know what they were intending. Screw you, Imperial Agents, what they were saying. But it's really cool because there's a lot. There's like 20 really cool detachments that are just dropped on the game, and you can figure them out.
Yeah.
And if you're the first one to figure out a new detachment, you get a huge advantage.
I'm so excited for LVO. This one's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Next, we've got TNT TV with the $5 super chat. Is Sons of Sanguinius or Angelic Inheritors easier to play? New to Blood Angels, but not to Melee.
The new Sons of Sanguinius or Liberator Assault group, that would be the easier one to play for sure. It's a straightforward melee army with the tools that a melee army needs to have in order to function. It hits harder and it moves quite quick. And you also have the option, if you want, to not take Blood Angel specific units, and then you get that +1 to Wound Oath, which is solid. Maybe it's a good trade-off. Maybe it isn't. I don't know yet. I think Angelic Inheritors is significantly more difficult to play because it's more of an all-around army, and it does rely on tricks to a certain extent and getting the exact placement of units correct. But it is very rewarding once you do get that playstyle down.
Definitely. When we got Red Rum with a £6 super chat. Eldar can be disappointing for once. Custodes had to deliver. Glad to have you guys back. Hope you had a great holiday. Hope you did too, Red Rum. Thank you so much for your support. We had a very rejuvenating and wonderful holiday season, and we're glad to be back too.
Absolutely, for sure.
Chapter Master Ballsack with his 20 memberships. Thank you. Make sure you also click that accept button. I'm too random. Oh my God. HGH.
I'm too random. GHGH.
Oh, I can't count. Any chance of a Black Templar state of the faction? They've changed so heavily and so often, most guides are obsolete. We're going to go through every single faction and do a state of the faction. Starting off, we've already kicked off with some Tyranids and Demons, but we'll get to Black Templars as well. Thanks so much for your support.
Absolutely.
Letters from Lynx with a 20...
Swedish krona, I believe.
Swedish krona super chat. I do love my Swedish friends. Inquisitor, Psyker, Good, and Liberius Conclave?
I think it's decent. It's weirdly enough only slightly cheaper than a librarian. So I think the librarians are a bit better, but Inquisitor Psyker is not bad. You get a CP refund, which is pretty dope.
You got some Devlins on there.
Yeah.
John McCardell, what a hero with a $20 super chat. Bring Golden Walking Coffin Boys to LVO. Excited to break out the Forgeful Dreads again. Resin Gang, shout out. Oh no, John's one of them.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I hate to see it.
John McCardell, definitely not the same person as Chapter Master Ballsack. I've never seen them in the same room together.
No, that's so true.
Definitely different.
He's a hero of the channel. Thanks so much for your support, John. See you at LVO. And then we've got Joe Woodland with a £5 super chat regarding Star Shatter. Time to make like the Light Brigade and charge those cannons. You'll die, but the day will be won. Be not afraid.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest counters to Star Shatter legitimately is things like Orks and World Eaters and Liberator Assault
just
Group
run straight
that just run straight at them.
They can't kill it all.
You'll kill some of them. They'll kill a lot of you.
Yeah.
But they will be stuck in their deployment zone doing nothing.
And they're really not scoring.
Yeah. No, they're not doing it. Cannot emphasize that enough.
Muzzbuzz with the 16, who's been a member for 16 months. Got to play the Monocorn, and it was so fun. The Winged Prince with the Demise Bomb was amazing, but really excited for the Tzeench Legion next week.
So there's a combo where you can give a Winged Demon Prince, who I believe has like Deadly Demise 1, if that, maybe not even, and he gets Deadly Demise on a 2-up, and if he's killed something, it's D3 plus 3. So if he's in the middle of your opponent's army and they kill him, he's like,
Yeah, that's hilarious, actually. I love that. JW, the £2 super chat, the new Metal Orc solid detaches low-key nuts. I agree. Metal Orcs are nuts.
yeah, Metal Gear Orc.
Thanks so much for your support. And then Brant Drake with a $2 super chat, Deathwatch ranking. Well, as we all know,
Demons are Deathwatch.
Demons are Deathwatch, and they sure are in top tier.
For sure.
So apologies for not having that graphic created. We'll definitely get that updated for the future. But we did end up ranking Deathwatch, and we think they're pretty damn good.
They also got a GT win, apparently, first week of this month.
Nice. Thanks so much for your super chat, Brant Drake. And next we've got Sloppity Bile Typer. What a hero. Nice to see my Chaos Knights are as mid as my play. Well, you got your Sloppity Bile Piper making an appearance in your Nurgle Demons for a strong detachment. Thanks so much for your super chat.
I'm too random with a $10 Canadian super chat says Deathwatch is missing. Classic. Yeah, no, GW also forgot they existed for a while.
We're just following their lead. Really. Thanks so much for your support. Bonsai Katie Gaming, $2 super chat for Jack. How would you run Shrike in the new detachments?
Yeah, so we're talking about Kevin. We're talking about Kevin Shrike. Kevin Shrike probably goes in some kind of Ironstorm or Gladius because that's the detachment that is best with the generic Marine buffs. So I'd probably say you run him in a Gladius, you put him in a squad of JPI, and he'll hit pretty damn hard.
Yeah, awesome. Next, we've got Logan Grimnar with a $5 super chat. Champs of Rust went from 0 to hero with a minor update. How would you tweak Champs of Fenris to improve it?
I would extend the range of their heroic, legitimately. I think that's what I would do. I would turn it up to like 5 inches, something like that. 6 might be too much, but honestly, Marine datasheets that don't have any like special characters are not good in combat. That's just not a thing that army does very well in combat. So I think I think you could be allowed to 6-inch heroic with your Terminators.
Yeah, 3-inch heroic just not doing anything.
No.
And a couple more to go through. Hivesbane, who's been a member for 28 months. That's like 2.5 years. Thank you so much for your support, Hivesbane. Thanks for all the content this holiday season, guys. Always entertaining on my hour drive to my fire station. Placed top 10 in my second ever GT with Custodes because of you guys last week. Much love. Much love for you too, Hivesbane. Appreciate the work you do at the fire station. And of course, Want to love your support for the channel. Congratulations on second place in that tournament. That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Scott Nagao with a $5 super chat. Glad to see y'all back after the break. Good luck at LVO. Go Death Guard. Appreciate your support. And Mr. Morty with a $10 super chat. I play Salamanders, but my girlfriend plays Votann and has slowly lost interest in the game. Disappointed in Ninja Games Workshop. Lack of units, lower codex, and now a terrible detachment made her quit. Hope they fix it soon. I hope they do too.
Yeah.
I can definitely empathize with having an army you love not be good for a while and just not getting love and support from G-dubs. Hopefully they get on that. They have been doing better than they have in the past, so hopefully that trend continues and maybe your girlfriend will get back into it.
Yep, we got Euros Burkic with a €5 super chat. Says, guess I'll need to paint my new 15 Scions to add to the rest of the bunch. Only infantry guard all the way. Just 15, huh?
That's, I think he forgot. I think he forgot a digit there. It was like 150 is what I saw.
Right, 75 I think is Ben's list.
Yeah. Zinth with the $5 super chat. Deathwatcher hype af, but only holy crap, they're insane to get into from nothing. A single Indomitor team is $180 US at GW prices, but one day.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's
this hobby quickly becomes a lifestyle, and once you have decided you're a Warhammer player, you know it's like paying for gas or food. It's just something that happens.
Yeah, well, the problem is a single 10-man Indomitor team is like 3 aggressors and 3 eradicators and 4 heavy intercessors and something like that. And so you have to buy 3 boxes to make one thing, and then you also need a character. So
that's true. And finally, the last super chat from Drew Skywalker, who's been a member for 18 months, a year and a half of support here. What are the highlights for a current Liberator list with the recent point changes? Also, you guys should do a video using each of the inspired leaders.
So highlights for a current Liberator list. I mean, Reavers are very good. Jump Pack Intercessors are very good. Blade Guard are pretty decent if you want to go the route of not having Blood Angel specific units. If you don't, Death Company are pretty solid because they come with their own rerolls and they really want that +2 strength, +1 attack. Those are all pretty solid.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your support, Drew. And we'll definitely work on getting that inspired leader game going. I'm too random with yet another super chat. Black Templars Librarius with Inquisitors?
No.
Could you even do that? Is that allowed? I guess that's allowed.
Technically with Inquisitors, I think it is. Even when librarians were allowed in your Black Templar army because of they just didn't include that wording in the detachments, I didn't take them because that was stupid.
Yeah. All right, folks. That wraps up our tier list. Let us know what you thought of the ranking of the Grotmas Detachments. If you agree, disagree, have your own takes, we'd love to see them in the comment section. We're getting games with all these detachments on the War Room right now. You can subscribe for 3 days off with your free trial, thewarroom.vhx.tv. There is a link below in the description. And we've got tons of more content coming out. Jack and I are back to play a game tomorrow, actually, with the new Black Templars detachment versus the new Death Guard Demon Nurgle detachment. Very exciting times. I'm going to make him battle shocked.
Please don't.
I am.
I don't. I'm going to kill you then.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue producing these videos for you. Leave a comment letting us know what you thought, and we will catch you later. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.